Hello and welcome back to another video on legends and myths. Today I will be telling you the story of the divine huntress Artemis, goddess of the hunt. Artemis was the Greek goddess of hunting, nature, and wild animals. She was typically regarded as one of the 12 major Olympian deities. Artemis, like her twin brother Apollo, was born from the union of the supreme god Zeus and the goddess Leto. The birth of Artemis and Apollo was full of drama that so characterized Greek mythology. Artemis's mother, Leto, herself the daughter of the Titans Ceus and Phoebe, was one of Zeus's many lovers. When she became pregnant by Zeus, he was already married to his sister Hera, who was notoriously prone to jealousy. True to form, Leto's condition aroused Hera's fury, and Hera threatened any person or land that harbored Leto. According to some traditions, Hera even sent her son Ares to pursue Leto as she wandered through the world looking for a place to give birth. In other traditions, it was the monster Python whom Hera sent to pursue Leto. Abandoned by the gods, Leto continued wandering until she found shelter on a tiny and forgotten island called Delos. There, Leto readied to have her twins, but Hera was not yet done with her. When Leto went into labor, Hera prevented Eileithyia, her daughter and the goddess of midwifery, from attending to Leto. After a long and painful labor, which lasted as many as 9 days according to some sources, Leto managed to give birth to the brilliant twins Artemis and Apollo. In some traditions, Artemis was the first of the twins to be born and actually helped her mother give birth to Apollo. This would have represented Artemis's very first foray into her function as a goddess of childbirth. Though most ancient sources agreed that Apollo and Artemis were both born on Delos, there were other versions circulating in antiquity. Some claimed that Artemis's true birthplace was the grove of Ortygia near Ephesus, a region in Asia Minor. Others said it was Crete. The 3rd century BCE poet Callimachus gives an idyllic account of Artemis's childhood in his 3rd hymn. According to this poem, the young Artemis sat on the knees of her mighty father Zeus and boldly demanded that he grant all her requests, including that she be allowed to remain a virgin and a huntress.
Give me to keep my maidenhood, Father, forever, and give me to be of many names, that Phoebus may not lie with me. And give me arrows and a bow. Stay, Father, I ask thee not for quiver or for mighty bow. For me the Cyclopes will straightway fashion arrows, and fashion for me a well-bent bow. But give me to be bringer of light, and give me to gird me in a tunic with embroidered border reaching to the knee, that I may slay wild beasts. And give me 60 daughters of Oceanus for my choir, all 9 years old, all maidens yet ungirdled. And give me for handmaidens 20 nymphs of Amnisos, who shall tend well my buskins, and when I shoot no more at lynx or stag, shall tend my swift hounds. And give to me all mountains, and for city, assign me any, even whatsoever thou wilt. For seldom is it that Artemis goes down to the town. On the mountains will I dwell, and the cities of men I will visit only when women vexed by the sharp pang of childbirth call me to their aid, even in the hour when I was born. The fates ordained that I should be their helper. Forasmuch as my mother suffered no pain either when she gave me birth or when she carried me in her womb, but without travail put me from her body.
Zeus, of course, agreed immediately to the requests of his darling daughter. Callimachus's poem also relates how Artemis acquired her silver bow and arrows from the smith god Hephaestus and his workers, the Cyclopes, how Pan awarded her 13 hounds, 7 female, 6 male, to accompany her on the hunt, how she captured 6 golden-antlered deer to pull her chariot, and how she became an expert archer, progressing from shooting at stationary targets to wild game. This, then, was how Artemis spent her productive childhood and youth. When she ascended to Olympus to take her place among the 12 Olympians, she sat on a throne beside her twin brother Apollo. Though known for her innocence and purity, Artemis had a great capacity for violence and cruelty. She fiercely defended her virginity and her reputation as the greatest of hunters. In fact, the bulk of Artemis's mythos relates to her colorful punishments of those who offended her or her family. The following are several famous myths that put Artemis's destructive potential on full display. Orion. Orion was a great hunter who often prowled the woods with Artemis and who, according to most variants, fell in love with the dashing huntress. In some versions, Orion attempted to rape Artemis, who fended off his attempts and killed him, either with her arrows or by sending a giant scorpion against him. In other versions of the myth, it was not Artemis, but one of Artemis's attendants that Orion attempted to rape, and this was the offense that caused Artemis to kill him. In others, Artemis killed Orion after he had the hubris to challenge her to discuss competition. In others still, Orion fell in love with Eos, the goddess of dawn, and Artemis killed him out of jealousy. A more nuanced variant had Apollo inciting the clash between Artemis and Orion. In this version, Apollo was worried that Artemis's love for Orion would overcome her will to preserve her chastity. One day, when Orion went swimming in a large lake and had swum so far away that his head was a mere speck on the horizon, Apollo challenged Artemis. Questioning her skill with the bow, he claimed that she could probably not even hit the distant speck in the lake. Taking the bait, Artemis immediately drew the bow and scored a perfect shot, killing her companion in the process. So great was her anguish that Artemis implored Zeus to memorialize Orion with a constellation in the stars. To add confusion, there were other traditions in which it was not even Artemis who killed Orion. Instead, these traditions claimed that Gaia, the Titaness, sent the scorpion to kill Orion out of fear that he would kill all animals on Earth. The Aloadai. Otis and Ephialtes, known as the Aloadai, learned of Artemis's wrath the hard way. The Aloadai were brutal giants and hunters who never stopped growing. Boasting that they would soon grow large enough to reach the top of Olympus, they promised to abduct Hera and Artemis and take them as their wives. There are different versions of the fate of the Aloadai. In some traditions, Apollo killed them with his arrows, but in other traditions, they were killed by a trick. Clever hunter that she was, Artemis turned herself into a beautiful doe and jumped out between the brothers, causing them to eagerly throw their spears at her. Artemis deftly avoided the spears, however, and they went hurtling into each of the brothers instead, killing them. Niobe. Niobe, perhaps the cruelest fate of all, was reserved for Niobe, the queen of Thebes and wife of Amphion. Niobe was a fruitful mother who had 7 boys and 7 girls. In her pride, Niobe proclaimed that she was more fertile than Leto, who had only 1 boy and 1 girl. Artemis and Apollo loved their mother very much, and their wrath was severe and arguably disproportionate. Using their unerring arrows, Artemis killed Niobe's 7 daughters, while Apollo claimed her sons. In some versions, the twin deities spared one of each sex. Niobe, overwhelmed by grief, cried herself a river literally and was turned to stone. Actaeon. Actaeon was a great hunter and a prince of Thebes. One day, he happened to see Artemis nude as she was bathing in a river. Horrified that a mortal had transgressed her modesty, even unintentionally, Artemis turned the young man into a stag. Actaeon's own dogs, no longer recognizing their master, then pounced on him in stag form and devoured him. In other, less familiar variants, Actaeon actually deliberately spied on Artemis while she was bathing, while in others he attempted to rape Artemis or simply boasted that he was a better hunter than she was. Callisto. Actaeon was not the only person destroyed by Artemis for an offense that was not, in most traditions at least, his fault. Among Artemis's attendants was the nymph Callisto, whose beauty earned her the unwanted attention of Zeus. After Zeus had slept with Callisto and impregnated her, the girl was not long for this world. In some myths, Artemis noticed that Callisto was pregnant. This enraged her, as all her attendants were sworn to remain virgins forever. She punished Callisto by turning her into a bear. In other versions, Callisto had been turned into a bear by somebody else, either Hera or Zeus, and was shot and killed by Artemis. In yet another version, recounted in 2 poems by Ovid, Artemis merely banished the pregnant Callisto from her entourage, angry that the girl had broken her oath to remain a virgin. Hera then transformed her into a bear. In this form, Callisto was finally killed one day by her own son Arcas, who was out hunting and did not recognize her. Agamemnon. Agamemnon was a powerful king of Mycenae who led the Greek army during the Trojan War. While the Greeks were preparing to sail to Troy, Agamemnon offended Artemis somehow. Sources differ on why exactly Artemis was so angry with Agamemnon. So, as punishment, Artemis ordered him to sacrifice his daughter Iphigenia to her. If Agamemnon did not sacrifice the girl, the winds would never blow him and his army to Troy. Agamemnon finally gave in and ordered Iphigenia to be killed. In some versions of the myth, however, Artemis took pity on the innocent girl and rescued her at the last minute and replaced her with an animal that the Greeks sacrificed in her place. There were many others who suffered from Artemis's wrath. During the Gigantomachy, in which the giants, monstrous offspring of Gaia, attacked Olympus, Artemis took part in the fighting and was sometimes said to have killed the giant Gratian. When the monster Tityus attacked Leto, most variants agreed that Artemis was involved in killing him. In some traditions, Artemis also helped Apollo kill the monster Python, whose death enabled Apollo to take over the Oracle of Delphi. Like her brother Apollo, Artemis was an ally of the Trojans and an enemy of the Greeks during the Trojan War. Artemis was initially drawn into the conflict by King Agamemnon. During the war, Artemis did not play as important a role as some of the other gods, such as Zeus, Athena, or Apollo. However, she did help heal the Trojan hero Aeneas after he was injured in battle. According to the Iliad, tensions on Olympus eventually broke out into full-fledged brawling, and the pro-Greek Hera memorably beat up the pro-Trojan Artemis. The bruised Artemis ran away crying to her father Zeus. Artemis was honored in numerous festivals and celebrations. In Attica, important festivals included the Elaphebolia, which involved making stag-shaped cake in honor of Artemis; the Christeria, which celebrated the famous Greek victory at the Battle of Marathon in 490 BCE, the Munichia, which included a goat sacrifice, and the Brauronia, in which young girls between that ages of 5 and 10 dressed up and danced like bears, in atonement for the mythical killing of one of Artemis's sacred bears in Attica. In Sparta, Artemis was worshipped as Artemis Orthia and was associated with sinister rituals. The Roman statesman and writer Cicero describes how, at the festival of Artemis Orthia, a young man was whipped at the goddess's altar until he bled. Another infamous festival of Artemis Orthia involved a competition between 2 groups of young Spartan boys, in which each group tried to steal cheese that had been placed on the altar. As the boys attempted the theft, they were beaten mercilessly. Whichever team managed to endure the beatings best and steal more cheese was declared the winner. Such rituals were sometimes interpreted as replacements for human sacrifices that used to be offered to Artemis Orthia. Another important festival of Artemis was called the Laphria. It was held at Patrae in southern Greece. The ceremony involved a huge procession that ended with throwing animal sacrifices into a bonfire. Artemis's most important temples were located on the island of Delos, at Brauron and Munichia, the region of Attica, at Sparta, and at Ephesus in Asia Minor. Artemis was a fierce goddess who fended off numerous men who threatened her chastity. She was a child-nurturing deity who protected young children, especially young girls. She's the divine huntress, a patron of hunting and wild animals. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more videos like this to come. Feel free to let me know what other deities you would like for me to make a video on next. Take care, and I'll see you in the next myth.